Hey, CG. Well, I saw a mountain man. So, I've been thinking about everything we've been talking about. Oh, yeah, dude, same. Wait, really? Yeah, dude, why do you seem so surprised? Okay, well, what's your biggest takeaway? Okay, just freaking ignore my question, dude. Whatever. Okay, look, Bigfoot paying taxes, dude. What? Hear me out, dude. I really don't want to. Yeah, that's because you're scared of the truth. No, it's because the sentence you just said was stupid. If Bigfoot doesn't pay taxes, how has the IRS never gone after him? Oh my god, because they don't know he exists. Exactly, dude. Pretty freaking convenient. Huh. Okay, that's not how the evidence works. Sounds like something the IRS would say. Why are they involved now? Dude, they're literally involved in everything. Oh my god. No, they're not. Dude, you think all those missing hikers are actually just missing? Please don't. Witness protection, Witness protection. Yeah, dude. They actually saw how much Bigfoot owes in back taxes. I'm literally gonna have a stroke. Yeah, that's what they want, dude. Who? The people, dude. What people? Exactly. That literally answers nothing. It actually answers enough. No, it literally answers not a single thing. Not one. Agree to disagree, dude. Oh my god, fine. Let's just change the subject. Where do you think Gary is? Depends, dude. Depends on what? Is squirrel witness protection federal or state? Oh my god. Because if it's federal, he's untouchable. Gary is not in witness protection. Okay, then explain why nobody has seen him. Because I really hate that I don't have an answer. Mm-hmm. Stop smiling. Can't. Why? Because, dude, I just remembered. What now? Gary knows where Bigfoot lives. Of course he does. Yeah, dude, they play pickleball on Tuesdays. Yeah, I thought the Bermuda Triangle had their little freaking coven meeting with the squirrels on Tuesdays. Yeah. Did I say Tuesday? I meant Wednesday. Besides that, Bigfoot doesn't play pickleball. Not anymore, dude. Why not? Blew out his ACL. That's why nobody's seen him lately. You know what? What's that? I'm just done asking questions. Smart, dude. Yeah, why? Because, dude, like, every single answer just makes you angrier. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Oh, I know, dude. Oh my god, just shut up. Or not shut up. No, dude, shut up. Please, just stop talking. Dude, no, I can't. And why not? Oh, because, dude, this is the Wit Show where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. My name's Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wit Show from What I Think Seriously to You.
WITS, The Wit Show.
Cool story,
bro. Welcome back to the Wit Show. Thank you guys for joining me every single Saturday morning, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. You know I'm Georgie, and you know that I'm thinking out loud so that you don't have to. Last week, we explored the ancient history of the Appalachian Mountains, the eerie legends surrounding forbidden places, the chilling stories of ghost towns, and why so many locals say you should never whistle in the woods after dark. But today, we're diving even deeper. We're going to talk about people who seem to vanish without a trace, strange sounds echoing through the mountains, creatures that many swear they've seen, one of America's most infamous hauntings, and the hidden history of moonshiners who knew these mountains better than anyone. But before we dive into that, I want to shout out our sponsors of today's episode. The first sponsor is going to be our lovely Silver Spur seasoning. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't tried this stuff, it's phenomenal. I know that they are one of my sponsors, but the thing of it is that even if they weren't, they'd still be permanently on my shelf. I love the seasoning. It's amazing on everything. I put it on casseroles, cheeseburgers. I put it on my chicken. The chicken freaking rooster roast. Oh my god. If you haven't had amazing chicken, that's how you make amazing chicken. Get you some rooster roast, okay? Throw it on some chicken breasts, and then throw it on your Blackstone. Or put it in a pan. I'm not judging. Unless, of course, you cooked it wrong, okay? Low and slow is the way to go. Trust me. And our second sponsor is going to be Dakota RV with Raptor Racing. That's RV, not a rave like it's spelled, okay? We know it's RV because he's a beautiful man. We love him. He's also a personal friend of mine, okay? And he's driving the 16A car. So get out there and support our guy. Dakota's actually gearing up right now for the 2026 season. Go check out his Facebook too. It's Raptor Racing. It's looking for more sponsors to get behind the 16A car. So if you own a business and you want to get your name on a race car, get some social media love, some track announcements, and to support a local race car while you're at it, go check out Raptor Racing and get a hold of Dakota. Or you can get a hold of me, and I can get a hold of Dakota. Either way, these guys support the Wit Show, so let's return the favor and then show them some love. Okay, get out there and support your favorite race car, and, bring a freaking truck, do some tailgating, and bring some of that Silver Spur seasoning with you. Trust me, you won't regret it. Everybody loves a freaking tailgating party, me especially, because I love to barbecue. I love food, love race cars, and I love this show. So let's go ahead and get into it. Grab your flashlight, stay on trail, and whatever you do, if something out there is whistling first, maybe just let it whistle. Walk away. Trust me. It probably won't end well. But then again, of course, I'm preaching to the choir because I would probably whistle back because I'm into that stuff. It's kind of weird. But don't judge me too harshly because so are you, and that's why you're back here listening to my show. Because of creepy facts like the missing 411. Yeah, that's right, the missing 411. Have you guys ever noticed that every town seems to have a story? The one about somebody who went into the woods and just never came back? Sometimes it's a hunter, sometimes it's an experienced hiker, or sometimes it's a child. And usually the strangest part is many of these cases, well, despite helicopters and search dogs and drones and hundreds of volunteers, they never are found, ever. They just go missing forever. Or, if they are, they're discovered in places that had supposedly already been searched. One name that comes up over and over in conversations about mysterious disappearances is missing 411. The term comes from a searcher named David Paulides, who spent years collecting reports on unusual disappearances in national parks and remote wilderness areas. We've actually covered this on the show before in, it was like 20 episodes back. But basically, according to Paulides, some of these cases appear to share curious similarities. Experienced outdoorsmen vanish without leaving a trail. Sudden storms roll in during the searches. Personal belongings torn up or in unexpected places. Sometimes people are eventually found miles away in terrain that seems almost impossible to reach. And sometimes they're never found at all. Whether those similarities point to something meaningful or are simply patterns our brain naturally notices is still heavily debated. There isn't a scientific consensus that these cases are connected, but they've sparked countless conversations among hikers, search and rescue teams, and people fascinated by the unknown. That's us, the people that are fascinated by the unknown. You, me, my wife, who literally watches nothing but murder mystery stuff all the time. Don't make her mad, she'll be very, very angry, and she's very, very smart. Don't judge me, your wife probably does the exact same thing. Women are definitely into murder mystery. And, well, if you're a woman listening, then you know what I'm talking about. Quit playing games. We know. Seriously, though, I love my women supporters. Thank you for watching the show. Y'all ladies are crazy, and thank you. But back to the point, most people immediately think about places like the Appalachian Mountains where they hear the missing 411. But eerie disappearances aren't always limited to the Appalachia. Sometimes they happen much closer to home. Like specifically right here in Idaho. We've had cases that have had families searching for answers for years. One specifically that I even followed for a long time. It was the heartbreaking one involving the little boy named Dior Coons Jr. If you don't know, a 2-year-old who disappeared during a family camping trip in the mountains, this was back in 2015, despite an enormous search involving law enforcement, volunteers, helicopters, and search dogs, he was never found. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened, and the case remains unsolved. Stories like Dior's often get mentioned in online discussions about the missing 411, not because the evidence isn't there or it's not connected or anything supernatural, but because, well, they share the same haunting questions. How can someone simply vanish? And that's really what makes the stories the most unsettling, in my opinion. It's not necessarily ghosts or monsters. It's the fact that nature is enormous, and sometimes it keeps secrets. And that's probably why the Appalachian Mountains are so fascinating to me and, well, pretty much everybody else. They're amongst the oldest mountain ranges on Earth, where every trail has a story, every hollow has a legend, and every unexplained disappearance reminds us that, well, how small we really are. And the stories, God, they're unimaginable sometimes, and usually under weird and creepy circumstances. For example, people who've been found with no clothes or their clothes being neatly folded. Children describe strange people or companions. Like, there was one that I believe he said that the bear saved him. I don't know about you, but personally I think the bear would have ate him. Then you got search dogs that suddenly lose the scent. Like, these dogs train their whole life to sniff stuff out, and then their scent just completely goes missing. Or even creepier, there's people found in spots that were already searched. Or the one where that little boy was found miles away from the place he went missing in a terrain that would have been impossible for him to climb. Oh, and another creepy one is that the weather suddenly turning bad. Missing 411 author David Paulides frequently highlights cases where severe weather arrives shortly after the disappearance, interfering with searches and potentially destroying the track's scent. Tell me that's not weird. And then, if you combine that with stories from people who say they saw Bigfoot, there's so much weirdness around that as well. Like, for instance, the forest became completely quiet, like eerily quiet. Like, no wind, there was no sound from the animals, just creepy quiet. And speaking of sounds of the mountains, if you've ever spent a night deep in the mountains, you already know something most people don't. Darkness sounds different. Seriously, tell me I'm wrong. When it's quiet out and it's dark, like it's really creepy. It's not like when it's daytime and it's quiet out. There's definitely like more eeriness to it. You're nodding your head right now because you definitely know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe that's why we're afraid of the dark. Maybe the dark is just, I don't know, maybe there's something in it. During the day, the Appalachian Mountains are absolutely beautiful. Birds are singing, streams are flowing, the winds move gently through the trees. It feels peaceful. Then, well, the sun goes down and suddenly the same forest that welcomed you in starts feeling alive. People who have spent years camping in the Appalachians often tell the same story. They'll be sitting around the campfire when, out of nowhere, they hear something in the distance. A whistle, not the wind or a bird, just a whistle. Sometimes it's just one short note, sometimes it's two, sometimes it sounds like someone is trying to get your attention from just beyond the tree line. Tell me that's not creepy. You're just minding your business, hanging out with your family, then all of a sudden, I don't know about you, but that's kind of freaky, especially if your whole family and everybody that you know is, well, at this camping trip right there with you. Old mountain folklore has a simple rule. If you hear a whistle in the woods at night, do not whistle back. Some say it's just a way to keep the children from wandering away from camp. Others believe answering the whistle invites something to come looking for you. If you follow the old folklore, you're probably smarter than I am. I would probably whistle back. But that's because I'm a wise guy and I like to joke around a little more than I probably should. But whether you believe that or not, it's a rule that's been passed down through the generations. And then, of course, there are the screams. If you've never heard a fox in the middle of the night, count yourself lucky. They can sound eerily human, almost like someone crying out for help. And then, of course, there's the bobcat that can let out a blood-curdling shriek. If you've never heard one, it literally sounds like a woman screaming in the distance. And if you're out in the forest by yourself and you hear it, oh yeah, it'll make you stand on your tippy toes, bud. And then, of course, you have the barred owls. They don't just hoot. Sometimes they sound like they're laughing or asking, who cooks for you? Coyotes can begin with one lonely howl before an entire pack joins in, echoing through the valley until it feels like they're surrounding you. So yeah, nature can be completely terrifying all by itself. But then, there are the sounds that people can't explain. Heavy footsteps when nothing's there, tree knocks echoing from ridge to ridge, branches snapping with no visible animals, voices carried through the trees when no one else is around. But personally, I really think it's the silence. Not the peaceful kind either. The kind where every insect stops singing and every frog goes quiet, every bird disappears, the wind stops, literally just silence. Hunters sometimes call it the woods going dead. Scientists point out that there are plenty of natural reasons for that to happen. A predator moving through the area can cause animals to suddenly stop making noise. Change in the weather can do that sometimes too. But when you're standing alone in the forest and that buzzing sound that you've been hearing all of a sudden just disappears, and the next second you can hear your own heartbeat, logic suddenly doesn't feel quite as comforting. Maybe every sound has an explanation. Maybe every silence does too. Or maybe sometimes the mountains are listening just as closely as we are. Either way, we all do not like silence. The silence is violent. Or in this case, just scary. And speaking of scary, the creatures of Appalachia are pretty freaking scary if you ask me. Every mountain range has its wildlife, right? Deer, black bears, coyotes, elk. But if you ask the people who have spent their entire lives in Appalachia, some of them will tell you that's not everything that's out there. For hundreds of years, stories have been passed down from one generation to the next about the strange creatures that roam through the mountains after dark. Some of these tales come from the indigenous traditions that have been shared with respect for centuries. Others are newer legends that have spread through local storytelling and, of course, the internet. One of the oldest stories is about the Raven Mocker, a being from Cherokee tradition. It's said to appear near those who are close to death, stealing years from a person's life to extend its own. Whether people see it as a literal creature or a spiritual warning depends on who you ask, but the story has endured for generations. Then, of course, there's the Wampus Cat. Descriptions vary from town to town, of course. Some say it's massive, it's got glowing eyes. Others describe something that walks almost silently through the trees before disappearing without a trace. Whatever version you hear, one thing stays the same. People don't want to cross its path. And then, of course, more recently, another legend has exploded across social media. The Knot Deer. I'm actually very sure I covered a story like this in the beginning of my podcast episodes, specifically for my buddy Jared. If you haven't checked it out, it's a pretty interesting tale. Go back into my episodes and check it out. It will blow your mind. But back to the point, at first glance, it looks like an ordinary deer, until you notice something isn't right. Maybe its legs bend at straight angles, maybe its eyes seem to follow you, maybe it doesn't react the way wild animals should. Or maybe it just stares, longer than any normal deer ever would. Most wildlife experts would tell you these stories can often be explained by injured animals, illnesses, unusual lighting, or simply our brains trying to make sense of something unexpected in the dark. But once you convinced yourself something isn't quite right, it's hard to shake that feeling. And then, of course, there's the one creature almost everyone has heard of, my personal favorite, Bigfoot. Yes, that's right, Bigfoot. For decades, hikers throughout Appalachia have reported enormous footprints, unexplained tree knocks, strange howls echoing through the valleys, and fleeting glimpses of this massive figure disappearing into the trees. Stop acting like you don't know who Bigfoot is. Despite all of the stories, no conclusion or scientific evidence has ever confirmed the Bigfoot existence. Yet, reports continue to come in year after year, keeping the legend alive. And let's be honest, guys, you believe, I believe, we all believe. But no matter how you look at it, maybe every one of these creatures has a perfectly ordinary explanation. Maybe they're nothing more than folklore handed down from campfires. Or maybe the mountains on Earth have had plenty of time to hide a few secrets. And if that's true, we probably aren't the first ones talking about these stories or walking these trails. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good campfire story? Speaking of campfire stories, have you heard of the Bell Witch? Not the Blair Witch from the movies, the Bell Witch. When most people think about haunted places in America, they picture an old Victorian house or an abandoned asylum. But one of the most famous ghost stories ever told didn't begin in a mansion. It began on a quiet farm in a hill in Tennessee, just west of the Appalachian Mountains. That was the year 1817. The Bell family had settled onto their farm, and by all accounts, life was fairly ordinary. Until it wasn't. At first, the family reported hearing strange knocking sounds coming from the walls, in their cabins, of course. Then came the scratching beneath the floors. If that's not terrifying enough, chains dragging throughout the night, sometimes unseen pounding on the outside of the house, only for no one to be there when they looked. So, as weeks passed, the stories became even stranger. The Bell children claimed their blankets were pulled from their beds while they slept. John Bell and his daughter, Betsy, reportedly experienced pinches, slaps, and even the feeling of being struck by invisible hands. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a poltergeist to me. Either way you look at it, it's pretty freaky. Then, of course, came the voices. Oh yeah, what kind of a scary story wouldn't be complete without the voices? Neighbors who visited the farm claimed they heard a voice speaking from the darkness. According to the legend, it could whisper, laugh, sing hymns, quote scripture, and it even carried on conversations with visitors. The entity eventually became known as the Bell Witch. Word spread quickly across Tennessee, and before long people traveled for miles away, hoping to witness strange events themselves. And perhaps the most famous part of the legend involves Andrew Jackson. According to the story, before he became the President of the United States, Jackson visited the Bell farm after hearing rumors of the haunting. Legends say his wagon mysteriously refused to move until he agreed to spend the night, and by morning, after hearing unexplained noises and disturbances, he supposedly declared he'd rather fight an entire army than face the Bell Witch again. But that's, of course, what makes the Bell Witch so fascinating. Whether it was an elaborate hoax, a series of misunderstandings, mass hysteria, or something no one has ever been able to explain, the story refuses to die. Even today, people still visited the Bell property, and obviously they're hoping to experience something that they can't explain. Some leave disappointed, others say they don't, and, well, maybe that's the thing about the legend. You don't have to believe every word for them to leave a mark. Sometimes, just hearing the story is enough to make you think twice next time you hear a knock. Well, especially a knock coming from an empty room. Personally, I'm going to go check it out, which is probably why I'm going to die. That'll be my gravestone. Here lies Georgie, the stupid idiot that wandered off into a haunted house because he heard some knocking noises. Or shoot, maybe I won't even have a gravestone because you won't find me because something whistled at me in the forest and I went to check it out. The stupid things that I do when I drink my whiskey. Just kidding. I don't drink whiskey often, but when I do, I certainly enjoy it. And it makes me brave. Speaking of whiskey and brave, have you heard about the moonshiners, the hidden hollers, and the mountains that swallowed people? Of course you have, because we're talking about it right now. The Appalachian Mountains, duh. Long before the Appalachian Mountains became famous for ghost stories and strange creatures, they were already experts at hiding people. The Appalachians stretch for nearly 2,000 miles through some of the roughest terrain in the entire United States. Deep hollers, steep ridges, thick forests, caves, and winding creeks made, well, these mountains incredibly difficult to navigate, especially before modern roads and GPS. If someone wanted to disappear, this was one of the best places in America to do it. During the late 1800s, and well into the 1900s, countless moonshiners built their stills deep in these woods. They found narrow game trails, crossed streams to throw tracks, and tucked their operations into places where smoke from a fire would vanish beneath the tree's canopy. Many families knew these mountains better than any map ever could. Revenue agents, on the other hand, usually didn't. The stories that came out of those years sound almost made up. Secret tunnels, hidden cabins, lookout stations on ridgetops. Dude, even families using coded whistles and signals to warn each other when strangers were coming through. These guys had the operation down. Whether every tale is true or not, one thing is certain. The mountains were incredibly good at keeping secrets. And guess what? They still are. Old log roads disappear into the trees. Collapsed cabins slowly become part of the forest. Abandoned cemeteries sit forgotten on lonely hillsides. Their weathered headstones nearly swallowed by the vines and moss. Sometimes hikers stumble across stone chimneys standing all by themselves. The only thing left, well, a home that disappeared 100 years ago. You can't help but wonder who lived there, what happened to them, and why did they leave? Maybe that's why so many ghost stories were born in Appalachia. When you find an old cabin with no signs of life, when you walk through the forgotten cemetery, when you realize the standing somewhere that people haven't called home in generations, your imagination starts filling in the blanks. Every snapped branch sounds like footsteps, every breeze feels like a whisper, every shadow seems to just be, a little bit darker than it should. The truth is, the Appalachian Mountains don't need monsters to be mysterious. History did a pretty good job of that all on its own. But when you mix real history with, abandoned places and stories passed down for generations, you end up with the mountain range where everything feels like it's hiding something. We know the mountain keeps secrets, so what do we make of all of this? An ancient mountain range older than bones themselves? People who vanish without a trace? Whistles echoing through the darkness? Creatures that may be nothing more than folklore, or something else entirely. A family that's haunted by legends that refuse to die. Moonshiners, forgotten cabins, abandoned cemeteries, miles upon miles of wilderness. And a person could disappear and never be seen again. Maybe each one of these stories has its own explanation. Maybe every mystery can eventually be solved. Or maybe some places simply have a way of making us realize how little we actually know. The Appalachian Mountains have watched civilizations rise and fall. They've stood through wars, storms, and generations of people who called them home. They've heard every campfire story, every warning, every whispered legend, and they've never once felt the need to explain themselves. Maybe that's why these stories survive. Not because we have all of the answers, but because we don't. Every unexplained disappearance reminds us that nature is still bigger than we are. Every strange sound in the woods reminds us that fear often begins with a single question. What was that? Every old cabin, forgotten trail, and weathered gravestone reminds us that someone stood there long before us, living a life we'll probably never know. Whether you believe in ghosts or Bigfoot or curses or absolutely none of it, there's one thing that's hard to argue with. The Appalachian Mountains have a way of making people feel small, and maybe that's the real mystery. Not that the mountains are haunted, not the strange creatures that roam the forest, not even the people that disappear. The mystery is why a place so beautiful can make even the bravest person stop. It can make them listen and wonder if they are truly alone. So, if you ever find yourself hiking one of these old trails in the Appalachian Mountains, take in the view, respect the history, enjoy the silence, and if somewhere off in the distance you hear a creepy whistle, well, whether you answer back, well, that's entirely up to you. Y'all already know what I'm doing. Now, really quick before we go, I do have a listener's story. This one comes from one of our fans named Nina. I'm just going to call her Nina T because, unfortunately, I cannot pronounce the last name, and I really, out of respect, don't want to botch it. So, Nina T, thank you for tuning into The Witch Show. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. Every now and then, we get an email that sticks with us. This one comes from the listener, and she says that every word you're about to hear is something she personally experienced. According to Nina, it all began in a house where she grew up. She says strange things had been happening there long before she was born. Her father had reportedly seen an apparition decades earlier, and family members often spoke about an uneasy feeling inside the home. Nina remembers sensing she was being watched, seeing shadows move where no one should have been, and hearing footsteps when no one else was around. But one night, things became far more terrifying. She says she woke up and saw what looked like a decaying woman sitting silently in a chair across the room. The woman's eyes were completely white, her hair was a fiery red, with long, unnatural fingernails. She slowly motioned for Nina to come closer. The movement, she says, looked almost choppy, as if she were watching an old film reel. The air felt impossibly heavy, and the last thing Nina remembered is hearing her head falling back onto the pillow. As the years went on, her fascination with the paranormal grew. Of course, I personally would too, especially after experiencing something like that. At 15, she became interested in witchcraft and the occult. She collected books of spells, and despite her deeply religious grandparents' objections, experimented with the spirit boards and inside the same house, of course. I personally would too. I can't say I blame you, Nina. I definitely would have done it. I even actually have a spirit board right now. My wife made it for me. She's pretty good at crafts. Anyway, back to the story. At first, nothing happened. Then, night after night, she says she began waking to the sound of growling directly into her ears. She couldn't move. When she finally forced herself to open her eyes one night, she says a tall hooded shadow figure was standing beside her bed, simply watching her. Hoping to escape whatever was happening, Nina moved across the street to stay with a relative. But according to her, it followed. The same growling, the same paralysis. One night, she opened her eyes and saw only two glowing eyes with narrow, cat-like pupils staring back at her. Later, while staying at another relative's home in a neighboring town, a touch lamp above the bed began cycling on and off by itself. She fled into the hallway and heard whispering coming from a little cousin's bedroom. The next morning, she mentioned it to her aunt, only to hear about the cousin hadn't even been in that room to begin with. At all, that whole night. Back at her grandparents' house, the encounters became even more disturbing. She describes hearing footsteps race down the stairs while home alone. Unable to move, she says she watched what appeared to be half-man, half-goat figure appear in the doorway, vanishing, reappearing closer, and then finally standing beside the couch. It allegedly told her to go upstairs because her grandmother wanted her. When she ran upstairs, her grandmother was asleep. Days later, her grandmother shared a reoccurring dream she had been having, one in which Nina was signing a book with the devil. Nina says the activity escalated. During daytimes, naps, she felt like she was being watched. She once believed she saw something pretending to be her grandfather, but with eyes full of hatred and unnaturally animal-like postures. After trying another spell with a cousin, they reportedly heard heavy footsteps with what sounded like hooves moving across the room. Then came the moment that changed everything. Nina says a presence began speaking directly to her, threatening to kill her family and then her. Girl, you better get yourself a freaking shotgun with some rock salt. That's what I would have done. Anyway, that was enough. She threw away the spirit board, threw away the spell book, But she says that same night, the voice returned one final time with a chilling promise. I'll be back. Years later, Nina married and started her own family. The terrifying nightly occurrences eventually stopped, but she says they never disappeared completely. While pregnant with her first child, she remembers waking on the couch, unable to move, as something seemed to leap onto the cushions beside her before touching her stomach. That's terrifying. Her baby wasn't even born yet. And then you got this freaking demon thing just like, creepy. Anyway, the baby was born healthy. Later, while watching the television with her infant nearby, she says she watched a hooded shadow pass in front of the TV before disappearing into the wall. Perhaps the moment that unsettled her the most came when she found her young son in his room with a blanket over his head, growling towards something she couldn't see, as if he were frightened by an unseen presence. Today, Nina says extreme experiences have faded, life is mostly peaceful now, but she doesn't believe whatever she encountered is truly gone. She believes it's only dormant. So what do you think? Was Nina's experience an extraordinary series of paranormal encounters? Could there be another explanation, such as sleep paralysis, vivid dreams, or something psychological that can be intertwined with frightening events? We'll let you decide. Nina, thank you for the story. It's freaking terrifying. I don't know what I would do in a situation like that. You tell me what you would do. But for now, that wraps up our journey. Whether you believe every legend we talked about tonight, the stories from fans, or you think there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for every mystery, one thing is certain. The Appalachian Mountains have inspired stories for hundreds of years, and they'll probably keep inspiring them for 100 more. If you've ever experienced something strange while camping, hiking, or just spending time in the wilderness, we genuinely would love to hear about it. So, be like Nina and send us your story. You might just get it featured right here on The Witch Show. If you've enjoyed today's episode, do us a huge favor and follow us. Share this with your friends. Show it to whoever you want. If you think that they're going to love the show, tell them about us. Every follow, every share, and every review helps this little podcast reach more and more people. And honestly, I can't thank you enough. You already know that this show wouldn't exist without people like yourselves. So, as always, this has been The Witch Show. I'm Georgie, thinking out loud so you don't have to. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and remember, sometimes the best stories aren't the ones with all of the answers. They're the ones that leave you asking questions. Like, for example, what are we going to talk about next Saturday? See you guys next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Hey, CG. Yes, sir. What can I do is for you is... You know what I just realized? That Bigfoot is blurry because it doesn't want paparazzi. What? No. That's just science. No, dude, it's that Gary is still missing. Oh, yeah, dude. We never found him. No, sir, we did not. Last week you said that he wandered off into the Appalachian Mountains. Oh, yeah, dude, that's still my leading theory. He's a squirrel. Yeah, dude, exactly. Please explain. Simple, dude. Squirrels are basically tiny parkour experts. You think a mountain's gonna stop Gary? CG, please. Okay, listen, dude. Hear me out. I really don't want to. Gary whistled back. He whistled back. Yeah, dude. Every single time. That's probably amongst the dumbest things that you've literally ever said, dude. Is it? Yes. Then how do you explain the fact that nobody's seen him ever since? You want the simple answer? Obviously because he ran away from you. Or... Seriously, please don't. Bigfoot adopted him. Bigfoot. Yeah, dude. He needed an accountant. An accountant? Yeah, dude. Somebody's got to keep track of all those blurry photos. That's not how cameras work, dude. I don't know, dude. I think you're kind of narrow-minded. Whatever, dude. Let's just agree to disagree. Jarvis, can you please roll the song before I lose my freaking mind? Wait, dude. Wait. Oh my God, what? I just had a freaking amazing idea. Okay, what? If you completely go nuts, Gary loves nuts, dude. He's a squirrel. Dude, shut up. Jarvis, roll the song.
Hit the lights, turn the mics on, here we go again. Rabbit holes and mysteries, where does it all end? Ghost towns, cryptid stories in the dark. One wild conversation gonna leave another mark. Truth or fiction, we don't always know, but we're asking all the questions, so let's